recognition. I bring a lot of name recognition to it, and people know who I am.
Everybody likes you.
I am a moderate. So the fact is that this is a Democratic primary. I've never had to run in a Democratic primary before. And as I've said, I'm not the best Democrat, party Democrat that's out there. And Matt has run as a very good party Democrat.
He's sort of a staunch Wyandotte County guy.
Well, and he is. And I love him. I'm not saying that critically. He will get chewed up in the general, just like everyone else has. He will lose by 15 points. So my whole take on why you should vote for me and why I will win the primary is that if you want to win, you're going to have to vote for somebody who is the only woman, the only Democrat who has held this seat for 30 years. I will run a very different campaign. That's what we were just talking about. It will not be a straight up standard campaign. In 2004, I ran a straight up standard campaign. And you know what everybody said, Marshall? They said, "You are doing great." And I raised a lot of money. And you know what everybody said? You're doing great. And I mean, it's just like this thing where everybody just starts to glom on and you're going, it's so exciting and you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great.
It's in the bag.
Right.
And then 15 points.
And then you lose by 15 points every time. Everyone has lost by 15 points. And so it's like, well, why don't you do something different? In 2006, we ran a very different campaign. We did not raise nearly as much money. I said,
who did you run against?
Jim Ryan. Both times. Jim Ryan. Right. And the track star.
You ran against him in 04 too.
Right.
No, I used to see him. He'd run out at Lake Sherwood.
Mm-hmm.
I'd see him all the time in the mornings. I'd get up early.
No one thought it was possible. And you were saying, Henry, that you've kind of had the bug politically since you were. I never had the bug politically until 2000, the summer of 2000, the spring of 2003.
Well, I went from zero in the Senate as a kid
in the Kansas Senate.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Good for
Bob Story.
Good for you.
Who later on tried to sue me over something stupid.
Oh, no.
And his law partner wouldn't let him sue me.
Oh, good.
He goes, no, he's a good customer of mine. Yeah. But anyway, I did. But see, now that I'm clean and sober, I'm ready to atone for my sins. And now you can't use that against me. So I'm willing to stick my neck out.
Let's move on from the primary
to
the general.
I'm sorry.
How do you, let's
Marshall keeping me on task.
Well, how do you beat my feeling? I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. My feeling is that Derek Schmidt's probably going to be your opponent.
Absolutely.
So how do you
get Jeff Carr as far as being your opponent? I mean, I think
it won't happen.
Okay.
It's not going to
So
happen.
how do you get past Derek Schmidt? Considering he's from what, Independence?
Yes, he is, Montgomery County.
Big power base down there.
Right. And Derek is a real smooth talker.
He's a smooth operator.
He's a smooth operator.
Have you ever met Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeff's a good guy. I don't know that I would ever vote for him, but he's a good candidate. He doesn't stand a chance.
I voted for him in the primary.
Yeah. In what primary? We're having the primary on the 6th.
Well,
he voted.
I voted early.
The fan.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Of
right.
course, we are in early. Absolutely.
You can vote
good
right
for you.
now.
Good for you.
I
Yes,
voted
I know
for
this.
Jeff in the primary.
Right.
If you're a registered Democrat, you can
Right.
go out right now.
If you're a registered independent, you can go vote right now.
Are you kidding?
No, you can vote right now.
As an independent?
No. If you are an independent, because I used to work the polls, I was a poll supervisor. But yeah, if you're an independent, you can go vote. When you get there, you will have to declare with a party, and then you have to stay until sometime in September, and then you can change back. But if you're an independent, you can vote for me.
So how do we get past Derek Schmidt?
With Derek,
Or
I think
your opponent.
Derek will be vulnerable on a couple of things. So he's put out this great big flyer that basically says, I was the attorney general and I sued Joe Biden for a bunch of things and I won. Well, it was all politically motivated. And so what he also did, and I did this in my introductory video that you might have seen, but Derek Schmidt took this lawsuit and spent millions of taxpayer dollars saying that illegal immigrants shouldn't vote. Right. He spent millions of our taxpayer dollars and lost. And then The courts made Kansas, you and me, pay $1.9 million to the other side. Why? Because he had put out all of these allegations, but there was no evidence.
Well, with your stance
No.
on the border, you probably
But the
are,
fact is, that while we are in a place where we're tearing apart trust in each other, Derek Schmidt is sowing the seeds of distrust in our elections based on no evidence. And I think people are really tired of all the political maneuvering that happens when he should have been doing what he needs to be doing. So we get through the big storm in 2021. What did he do? The first thing that he did was in September of that year, he put out a request for a proposal for outside counsel. Nothing had been done. So when we
Was this
needed
for
him,
another lawsuit?
well, for the rates that were, are you paying $600 yourself? Did your gas bill go up to pay for that great big storm? Each one of you is paying $600 over 5 years, whatever it is. And Derek Schmidt, when he was Attorney General, didn't do anything.
About that, okay.
Right. But he spent your tax dollars on a lawsuit, and it's not just the lawsuit. It's just that there was no evidence. It was lies.
that lawfare doesn't work today.
So,
Well, right.
okay,
So there's his
we-
whole, I think that we'll
we can
go,
establish that Derek Schmidt, as Attorney General, was willing to squander hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps
hundreds
millions,
of, no, we're talking literally millions of dollars.
as well as time, man
Right.
hours.
And not doing what he's doing.
So
I think
we've
that
got
Derek
that.
Schmidt is also going to be very vulnerable when it comes to foreign policy.
What about reproductive rights? Isn't he a big pro-lifer? Or is he?
Yes, absolutely. He's a big pro-lifer.
Would he favor like a national abortion ban?
He would be just fine with having a national abortion ban. He is an A+ rating. So Derek, who likes, well, first of all, what does Derek going to say on a given day? It depends on who he's talking to, and that's what the voters understand more than anything. Is Derek will read any script in front of him depending on who he's in front of, and voters 100% know that
Yep.
that rings true.
Henry,
But he
you know
has
the
it.
guy, don't you?
He has an A+ rating with the NRA. That is absolutely,
Well-
it is extreme.
I
So-
met him the other day for the first time.
Oh, okay. I thought you knew him.
No, I don't. I met him at the a Republican Kansans
Mhm.
for Prosperity
Mhm,
Meet the Candidates Forum,
mhm.
and
Oh,
And
okay.
Jeff Carr's-
Americans for Prosperity. Now,
Yeah.
they should be backing you.
well, I think they like me.
They should be backing you.
The women, let's see,
I'm gonna call them today.
Kansans for Life back me.
Now,
I want to get Joan Wagner to back me
can I just have,
publicly.
I want to interject a thought about the NRA. For years and years and years, I've been one of these NRA phobic people, but I'm trying to be like you and see people in the middle. And it actually, or meet people where they're at.
That's
I
good.
know a lot of
I like
guys.
that.
I know a lot of guys who own a lot of guns.
Mhm.
The guys that I know may, on many different levels, like guns, and for many different reasons. My point being that most of the gun owners that I know and that I'm aware of might have been people like my old father-in-law who owned several hunting rifles. They might collect valuable guns. Somehow or other, this paranoid mindset of, well, they're going to come take our guns away, has crept into the discussion. When actually, to get into the middle, nobody wants to come take your guns.
Mhm.
On the other hand, I submit to you that these mass shootings, these aren't being done by the typical NRA supporter. They're being done by people who are way out there on the fringes who should not be allowed to purchase AR-15s.
Amen.
But I think
So, well-
personally, this is just my feeling. It's probably a mistake to inveigh against the NRA itself.
No, I think I would
When most-
heartily disagree with you on that. So after Uvalde, 2 years ago, Republicans in the Senate and the House in DC, Republicans came to the table and said, we're going to pass this bipartisan bill with just common sense stuff. So we have gun dealers who are unregulated. You go into Walmart or a brick and mortar store, you have all of these regulations on inventory control, on background, everything that you
Right,
can
right.
imagine, right? We have these Wild West gun dealers that don't have any regulations. And people said that shouldn't happen. 75% of Kansans say, my heavens, we should have, they shouldn't just be able to sell guns, a gun dealer.
I agree.
Right. Thank you. Right. So no, the NRA would still say no.
Well, I think,
Background, universal background checks. 75% of Kansans say we need background checks. Red flag laws. There are 6 of these things that are considered to be bipartisan. And you know what Chris Kobach is doing today?
Tell us.
Right. He is taking your tax dollars,
yours,
just like yours. He's taking your tax dollars to do the same thing that Derek Schmidt did, and he's spending them trying to block that piece of bipartisan legislation now that the rulemaking has come out and said that it's all wrong. Right. He took a bipartisan law. So, no, I would very much disagree with you that the NRA is going to push back on even what all of us would say are just common sense when it comes. So, should a 21-year-old be able to get an assault rifle, to buy an assault rifle? I think it's 80% of Kansans say no.
exactly.
Right.
Well,
So,
with recent
So
news
focus on
kind of
that.
supports that.
well, but the fact is, Derek Schmidt still has an A plus rating, and he will say no to that.
So
He will
I,
say no. No, I'm sorry, he is completely out of touch. The fact is that
Well-
he started so many years ago that the world has changed, and he's got his feet in concrete, tied to the NRA. And to get through the primary, he has to tell everybody that he has an A plus rating with the NRA and that he's going to keep it. So when he goes into the general, guess what I'll be saying? Sorry,
Do you have an NRA rating yourself?
no.
I mean, you just have no rating.
I'll give you one.
I actually had an
Not
NRA.
even-
Well,
not even
sure,
a C minus or
you
anything?
always have an NRA rating. The NRA rates every member of Congress.
That's
So,
interesting. Oh,
So
by the way,
the
this is
sheriff-
and it's
Facebook
not,
Live.
it's not
We're
a, it's not a,
interviewing
it's not a,
Nancy
um,
Boda,
The,
who's
the
a
sheriff of
candidate for
Shawnee
Congress,
County
along with
went
Henry
down to the
McClure.
border the other day, and he saw what was going on.
Brian Hill went to the border?
Yeah,
Okay.
with 5 other sheriffs from Kansas to go see what's actually going on. And he says,
he's, mhm. Your
what-
tax dollars to do that. Okay, I'm good with that. Okay.
Yeah,
And what,
so-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be sarcastic. Tell me what
no,
happened.
that's okay. But he came back and he said, I recommend that everybody carry a gun. After what I saw down there, he goes, I, I would recommend my friends to carry a gun. And after I heard him who saw that, and the Kansas laws, open carry is legal.
Without a
And
permit,
yeah,
without, you can be 18, you can have concealed carry
and
without a permit, without any training at 18.
well, I went through the hunter safety course.
I know you did.
And
You don't
I-
have to now.
Yeah, and I went through actually some training down in Chattanooga with the police.
So let me ask you a question,
Yes,
if I
ma'am.
may, because
Go.
we are going to have to get going here in a minute.
But I
How do
loved
you
having
feel
you in the
about Chris
studio.
Kobach? How do you feel about Chris Kobach doing the same thing
I
that
don't know. Do
Derek
you want to
Schmidt
see if
did?
he'll answer my call?
What if you
Put him
what
live?
what do you think about him
296-2215.
using Kansas resources
No,
in
I
the
have his
Attorney
cell number.
General's office to take a bipartisan bill and say no? We're going to use your tax dollars to fight this bipartisan bill that happened after Uvalde.
Well, to
I'm
answer
hoping that you say I'm not happy about that.
Okay, so now since you have to get going, let's move on if we can. What other issues do you beat Derek Schmidt on? Not just say the general issue of gun safety.
The one that hits everybody's pocketbook is the tax cuts.
Tax cuts,
Right.
okay.
So the tax cuts the corporate tax cuts went from 35 with the Trump tax cuts, 35 down to 21%, the lowest they have been in 80 years. And Derek Schmidt is saying they need to go down to 18. It is the whole fiasco of the brownback, what's it doing to our deficits? The deficit under Donald Trump, you may not know this, the deficit under Donald Trump came to $8.4 trillion when it had finally come down after the 2008 economic crisis. It came down, and with Donald Trump, it came up, 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 even before COVID hit. Would you like to know what it's going to be under Biden? Right now, it's at about 4.5 trillion, and I will tell you, just so you know, that's too much.
So where does
But
this fact
this
out there?
deficit spending,
So
this
does-
deficit spending is what? It is inflationary. It is absolutely inflationary. You can't afford a home? Well, interest rates are sky high.
Our
Quick-
interest rates,
Tariffs.
is inflation higher now than it was during Trump?
I'm telling you that it's the policies that came out of
Going
there.
down
First of
again.
all, when you came out of the 2008 crisis, there was a lot of stimulus. And then we were bringing it down. And under the Trump policy, before COVID, our deficit spending started going out of control, and then COVID hit. So even with all the COVID stimulus with Joe Biden, it's still, the deficit for his 4 years will be right around half of what was happening. So people like to scream bloody murder about, oh, we've got to do something about the deficit. Well, when they had the chance, they absolutely didn't. Can I talk about one more thing?
You can talk about whatever you want as long as you want.
I would not have agreed to paying off everybody's school loans. There are instances where we want teachers, we want nurses, we want public servants, we want to help them with school. Hallelujah. I'm good with that. For people who got involved in those absolute for-profit corporate college or universities that were nothing but shams, nothing but shams. So sometimes I would ask you, the private sector, telling me that the private sector that is 100% about profit can do things better than government may not be the right answer all the time either. The private sector absolutely ruined the lives of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with these sham universities. First of all, what I want to know is, why are those people still walking around? They should be in prison.
Good question.
They should be in prison. But if you're a white collar criminal, well, we treat you differently because clearly you have money and power for lawyers. Pisses me off. Then, so should we be repaying those loans? Yes, as much as I don't want to, but should we be repaying just everybody's school loans? No. If we have that much money, and we don't, why don't we pay off people's medical debts? Right. If somebody needs to really, right. So I understand that that's probably not the best answer for a good Democrat, but no, I don't think that we should be paying.
It's kind of
We have to
unfair.
do something about our deficit. What I'm telling you is that all this nonsense, so yes, we were left with huge inflationary issues coming out of COVID. The deficit was at record high. I know you don't believe it. Go look it up. The deficit's at record high. Tariffs are at a record high.
That's a question.
Right. And
Does
so
Derek support raising
absolutely,
tariffs?
absolutely. So I said this a lot, but so the Dollar Tree, goes to $1.25. Everything used to be $1. With the tariffs, guess what it is? It's $1.25. If we keep on doing more tariffs, it's going to be the $1.50 tree.
Soon it's going to be the $2 tree.
Right. So these
Look,
tax cuts,
new sign.
these tax cuts have been way disproportionate to the wealthy and the powerful. Way disproportionate.
Are
And
we
I'm
talking
telling
about
you,
the current tax cuts? Or
I'm talking about the ones in 2017 under Donald Trump.
Okay, but Joe went in and changed them, right?
No,
Why not?
because they were law and they don't expire until they expire next
2025?
year.
Yeah.
But the corporate taxes, they were made permanent. Guess who Donald Trump supports? He wants to be every working man. Oh my God. I mean, it's anything but. And I don't want to call people, let's just say wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, he wants to act like he's working man. I'm sorry. They're just not. The policies are hurting working families. So yes, we inherited an economy and a crisis with COVID, and inflation happened across the globe. It was not the United States. It was across the globe. And Joe Biden got in there. I do not agree with everything that Joe Biden did at all. but the economic policies got the ship righted. We were left in 2008. Bush left Obama with a total mess. And we finally got things back under control. And then Donald Trump comes in. It's just like in Kansas. We've had, Brownback left everything in a disaster. And then we get in a good moderate Democratic woman who just goes in and does what we do, and we just clean up the house and get it working again. And hopefully Kansans won't go do that again with another ideologue.
Maybe that
You
could
know
be
what
a
I learned
campaign
today?
tool.
What?
I learned that it's better off in a conversation like this, keeping it at the level where we are today, because
Yeah.
you are better off talking about your opponents and how you're going to react once you get there, but you have no control over Trump or Biden today. The legislative branch. So if we just keep the conversation about now in the present, I think we get better off. So a fact that I want to look at was 40% of all the money printed actually done in the last 13 months, because that's something that's out there. But so what I learned today as being a candidate for county commissioner, it's more important about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to affect change. And I think what I've learned today from you is coming right out of your heart
Mhm.
of what
Thank
you're
you.
going to do and why we should vote for you.
And the
But I
contrast,
think it gets just so messy talking about Trump and Biden today.
the contrast between me. So the Republican Party is divided. It is in chaos. And a lot of it is because people like Derek Schmidt have taken policies that have hurt working families over and over, backing large corporations. Why did he vote against E-Verify over and over?
Now, what is E-Verify?
E-Verify is part of the immigration thing that says we're going to check. A business has to check. The business has to check whether your social security number is
Like going out
correct
to
or not.
research
Right.
and
Right.
checking everybody.
And guess what Derek did? He's voted against it. But
He
he's going to
voted
tell
against
you, right?
E-Verify?
So what? Yes. Yes. But he'll sit there and say, we got to do something about immigration. Why would he vote against E-Verify? Because businesses want cheap labor. And that depresses the cost of wages. The RNC was fabulously interesting, watching labor and very much
You mean
populist,
having the Teamster show
right?
up?
And having populists like me
Oh.
show up and say, this whole trickle down economics thing. People are seeing. You can see the hurt on people's faces now. People who used to buy that nonsense. So Derek is an old school Republican. And quite honestly, the Republican Party is saying, we're sick and tired of you. His views, when he says what he wants to do, they are not in line with what Kansans want. I don't care whether it's on guns, on the economy. It will not be on schools. It will not be on. I doubt that Derek and I agree on. I'm not even sure that I can think of one place that Derek and I'm sure I will find something that we agree on because we are Kansans. I'm not sure.
We agree on Israel. That's what brought us together.
I'm agreeing that anyway, I've said my piece on Israel. Both sides, damn it,
So
need to
is-
just get off of their extremism.
If
And
somebody wants,
the international community has to take a stand and put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, now it's a sales pitch. Where do we find you on the web?
Mazel tov. Is this still your
Nancy
right
for
address?
Congress?
No. That's an old sign. That's
That's
a
an
very old sign. BoidaForCongress.com.
Okay.
BoidaForCongress.com.
Boida for Congress. Nancy Boida for Congress.
And what's the maximum donation?
You can only give $3,300.
Okay.
Actually, you can do 6,600. It's 33 per election, one for the primary, one for the general.
But you got to do it in
Join
bites.
Join the 66 Club, sports fans.
Right.
Well,
So, I would just say
having
again,
you in the studio.
here, let me just end. A vote for me is what? A vote for me is really making a statement. This is what's so important because I want our country to change and I want Kansas to change our country. A vote for me is making a statement that you are ready for that crazy stuff in DC to stop. Just stop it. and that you are willing to do the work of rebuilding trust. Because if we don't have trust in each other, we do not keep this beloved country of ours. Don't expect me to go to Congress and change that. It has to happen at your level too.
We've talked her out. Look at that. But I've really thoroughly enjoyed having you
Well,
in the
I've thoroughly
studio
enjoyed
today.
being here.
Do you feel comfortable here?
Absolutely.
All right, so
I'm
let's
sorry that.
let's get you back after the primer.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you're up
let's,
for it. All right, we're live and we're not
And we
live
could-
because
we could actually try to after the, oh, are you still?
yeah, I'm just
I'm
signing
sorry.
off, but I love y'all.
Okay.
Are we off?
After the primary, we could maybe try to
I got a
get a little bit of a